Hi, everyone. We had to work through a few tech issues today, but it seems like we're good to go right now. So thank you all for coming. This is a super exciting class for us, Intro to Tarot. My name is Trish. For those of you who this is your first time seeing me, I am the CEO and co-founder of Witchsea, and right next to me is Tam McCain from Tam's Enchanted Emporium, and she will be facilitating your classes today. And as just an exciting bonus for the live event goers today, we are going to be giving away one free ticket to the next class, the paid class. So if you're anywhere in the world, you can win that. Tam is also giving away a free 15-minute Zoom read with her. So again, anywhere in the world, you can win that. And then I'm going to be giving away two of our Horror Path collector decks. So you do have to be in the U.S. to get that. And the reason they're not that great for your tarot reading, they're better for your collection, just because the suits don't line up with the typical, pentacles and cups and so forth. So we're going to be doing that along with our witchcrafted tarot oil. So this stuff is really lovely. It's great for anointing your decks and a little bit on your third eye, open that intuition up a little bit. So we're going to be giving those away at the end as well. If you have any questions, please pop them in that little question icon over on the right hand navigation, so we can make sure we grab those at the end. And then without further ado, I'm going to pass this over to Tam. Enjoy.
Hello. Hi, thank you so much, Trish. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Intro to Tarot. So, I am Tam. I will be your witch for this class. But first and foremost, before we get into who I am, I want you guys to take a moment and thank yourselves. Thank yourselves for coming here and for coming to this space that you want to be able to enrich your lives with divination and learning the art of tarot. The way I'm going to be teaching you guys is a bit of much different and very much more detailed than what you would normally get in a basic class. And I'm also offering it to you guys at a much cheaper version too than if you were live in person with me. And there's a few reasons for that, but mostly it's because I want you guys to have this and it be affordable. But I also want you guys to get as much info as you possibly can. So I have jam-packed today, of course, with a bit of outline and getting into more than just the basics, the origins, all of that. But at the end, as you heard Trish say, we're going to be doing, of course, a few giveaways, some of hers, some of mine. But also I want to open it up for a little bit of Q&A. And if we have time, I would love to pull a card or two for you so that way you can see how I interpret the card. It's very important to see all the different ways. I did have slides. I do have slides for you guys actually, but I had a tiny technical issue. My laptop is a bit of a dinosaur, so the video quality you guys would have been getting would have been terrible. So I decided that I'm going to still be reading from the slides, but I'm going to give them all to you in email. So I did get a few emails already. Please forgive me. I did not have time to do it right before we started, but I will absolutely do that. And it will also be available to you as a recording later in case you didn't get to come up to us and, be in the live thing. But if you are live, then you guys get to have a bit of a extra bit. So anyway, let's just go ahead and get started. Okay. So about me, like I said, first and foremost, you guys thank yourselves for coming, but I also want to thank you for coming here. It's so I'm more than honored to be able to share my bit of knowledge with all of you and to have you in this space. And also, we want to thank Witchsea for giving us the space and platform to be able to do something like this in such a broad way as well. So, thank you all. So if you do see me reading, by the way, I am reading from my slides. I'm not reading like a prompter, but anything. But anyway, so my name is Tam, short for Tamra. But since all my friends call me Tam, you guys can do that as well. I am the sole owner and proprietor of Tam's Enchanted Emporium. Basically, my little business, of course, I do tarot readings, as you know, but I also provide energy clearings and teach classes in person for crystals, tarot, and so much more other things like that, too. And you'll see, guys, later we'll start even have a class about black salt making. So if you're excited, stay tuned. Anyway, this is my fourth year owning my own business. Year one, really out by myself and fully not underneath anybody else's wing. And in this past year, it has proved to me that you really can do the things that you are putting your mind to. You show up, you show out, and the universe does as well. So I have been a professional tarot card reader this whole time for the full 4 years. There we go. But I've been extremely intuitive my whole life. My biggest superpower would have to be ghosts and spirits. That's how we really knew as a kid that I was super intuitive and super sensitive to the energies around us. And I've had those powers ever since I could start remembering. So like I said, I also provide folks with in-person readings as well as on Zoom. So you don't have to be in person where I am in Indianapolis, Indiana. And I also host tarot parties. So sometimes if you do get to catch me in person, we have a whole bunch of readers at an event of different kinds, and you can come and get different types of readings with myself, palm readings, Reiki healing, all that kind of stuff. So just pay attention. There'll be a lot coming up. So you can also hire me for in-house energy clearings and sometimes even find me at markets selling my goods that I make. I also make like witches' bells and things like that. You'll see on my shop under the Witchsy site. So basically, I also identify as an eclectic solitary witch. So basically, what that means is I have studied and researched all kinds of different acts of the craft in all different regions of the world, kind of filtered it in and adapted my bit of own practice for my daily suit. That's where the eclectic part comes in. The solitary part just means I work by myself. I'm not in a coven or anything like that. But if you are, go you. I will never gatekeep you guys. Okay. I don't know if you are familiar with that term, but you guys probably do see it if you're on TikTok a lot. I'll never do that. I will only teach you what I've been taught. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to teach you how I've been taught, and throughout the ways, all the ways I've learned has been lots of research, reading different books, having readings done by different people, even watching different readers on YouTube is a great way to develop different things of the craft. You don't have to keep all the information that they tell you for yourself. You don't have to develop that into your day-to-day readings, by the way. You can, your readings are you, your practice is you. You're going to want to, especially if you're going to do this for people as like your job or your little side job or whatever, you're going to want to have as much knowledge and information as you possibly can. And like I said, you don't have to keep that with you. So on to the next. Now we're going to start diving into all of the lovely, juicy information because I have some stuff I do want you guys to know before we get to the end. So now we're going to start with the history of tarot. I'm not sure if you guys know this, but a lot of people probably do too. Tarot didn't actually start as a predictive tool. It was actually a card game for Italian aristocrats. Believe it or not. They didn't look like how they do now. They were much more similar to the regular suits of playing cards. And that was a game a lot like bridge. So I just think that's funny that now it's used in a much different way, in like a healing way, and also a divination turn. So let's go ahead and get started and dive right into the history of tarot.
Hey, Tam.
Like I said,
Tam,
yes.
one quick second. Some people aren't hearing you at all, so they're having kind of a side conversation. I can hear you fine. Patty can hear you fine, but it seems like
okay.
It seems like
What?
Yeah, the people are nothing coming through.
Okay, I'll just take the mic off and use my phone.
Okay.
Can you guys hear me better now?
Can you guys give a thumbs up if you can hear her now?
Is this much better? I'm sorry, guys. I was using a mic, and apparently it's not working for most people. So I believe we're having a better time now. I want you guys to be able to hear me.
Yeah. So some people were hearing, and then some people says, if you can't hear, or if it says starting in just a moment, can you just go out and come back in just to make sure that, you might have to restart and then just come back in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Please do, guys. And like I said, if you did miss something, this is being recorded and we will have slides. So if you did happen to miss it in the live, I'm super sorry for that. There has been a few technical issues today, and we'll push through. And you guys will be able to have the full recording and the slides as well. So you won't miss any information if you didn't hear it in here.
Oh,
So
all right.
everybody
Great.
better now?
I think so. It looks like everybody's doing good now. So, all right. So we'll just pick up where we left off. Thank
Okay.
you.
Yay. Thank you guys so much. And thank you all for being patient too. This is a learning curve, and sometimes the technical things we just, we can't help that. So now we're going to finish what are we talking about. So the history of tarot and when it really started. So back in the 1400s, this is Renaissance time, okay? If you were able to hear that part, it actually began with Italian aristocrats. So super wealthy people, probably even royalty and things like that, sitting around in a parlor. They really wanted to have a game. So it first started on wood blocks. Some were even painted with gold leaf, making it super fancy and pretty, but the cards looked much different. They looked more like playing cards like you see today for games like bridge and whatnot. So then at this point in history, like I said, it was just meant to be a card game. None of those cards would you see them as we do today. Then around the 1700s, the quote unquote game took a big pivot. It wasn't until the late 1700s that a French clergyman, now we're going to a different country, okay? French clergyman published a massive and, in parentheses, widely and historically inaccurate paper stating that tarot was actually an ancient Egyptian book of wisdom. Now, if you recall the sentence I said before that, this is widely known now to be historically inaccurate for him to have done that. But because he did that and called it the Egyptian Book of Wisdom, that's when it took an occult turn. That's when other people started to become a little weary of it. Or, of course, others were now more excited and really wanting to know, what do you mean, Egyptian Book of Wisdom? With a deck of cards? Okay, let's see what they're talking about. But then, okay, so because of it taking that a bit of a cult turn, that's when religions were teaching their people, and of course, by natural feel, that tarot was wrong or evil. And so that person, that French clergyman, actually did something kind of dangerous. He changed the way tarot was viewed. Instead of it being a card game, now it's something so mystical that it's an occult and it might be scary. And that actually is still looked at like that today. There are a lot of people with readings and things, and they think that, oh, this is scary and dark and evil, and it's really not. Of course, you make it what you want. So then now we're going to jump to the 1900s. This is when tarot becomes what we know of it today, and the 1900s, a system of cards that represent archetypes of the human psyche. So each one is filled with symbolism and meanings, imagery, all kinds of things, numerology, astrology, zodiac things. These connections with the cards are not something that they teach you in a regular basic learning of tarot. And that's why I have decided to teach you the way of that. And at first, when I was learning, I didn't know of all the extra connections, the elements, the planets, all of that. And it does actually change the way that not just you view tarot, but how you teach it as well. So the decks that most of the artists from all around the world now base their decks off of are called the Rider-Waite. Now it's called the Rider-Waite Smith deck. They look like this. Might be a little shiny, but everybody knows that imagery, right? That's very common theme. Okay. When that happened, that's when this deck was born, right? The Rider-Waite Smith deck. Most people hear it say Rider-Waite, and scholars here lately in the recent history wanted to give the artist of the imagery a lot more homage, so that they added her last name to the phrase Rider-Waite, now Smith deck. So that's why you hear me saying another word on there. This deck was born in 1909. So Smith was the visionary behind the illustrations of the cards. Pretty sure she had a nickname too, like Pixie or something like that. Pretty cute. But that person, also one of these people that helped to write it, she was a regular reader with regular cards in a parlor or a place where someone, people would come and get readings. And she was really good. Of course, people called her a fortune teller, but then they were just still playing cards. So she was one of these people that we're talking about now. So that's so exciting. So then, okay, so her name, like I said, has mostly been unheard of until the recent years, and scholars really wanted to showcase who else it was that illustrated these, because it was more than just this scholarly guy that we'll talk about with the last name of Waite. Okay, so now we're going to talk about him. This guy, Arthur Edward Waite, he was actually a member of an occult society. Okay, this is cool. And he called the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, actually. Okay, so this was back when a lot of groups, like Masons, things like that. There was a lot of different groups like that, and especially the occult groups. That's what they like to call them back then. So he's the one, Mr. Waite, that had the idea to take that game, quote unquote, of tarot and turn it into what it is now. And he wanted to take what he learned in his Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. He wanted to move away from the Christian imagery that was going on with the other illustrations of the cards, because the first bit of illustrations, which you'll see when you get to see the slides, I've included the ones that they look like the old Italian version. They look very different, and they definitely look like is something out of a Bible or something like that. So he wanted to step away from Christian imagery and move it to something more universal and use esoteric symbols. So that's when the illustrator named Pamela Colman Smith, she came around, and they got together. Of course, there was lots of discussions on each card and what they're supposed to mean, what their emotions are, emotional ties are, and how they're going to be archetypes actually for the human psyche. And so with them two together, blending of all of the information, and the creative minds went to work. And now we have what we see with the Rider Waite Smith deck now. And that includes all the same imagery and all the same meanings. And it's just great. So then now we take a teeny tiny jump to the 1960s. This is actually when tarot exploded everywhere, more than just Italy and France and with aristocrats. Now it's everywhere in America and all the other countries. And it's, of course, got its own take in each country, only because, well, language and things like that. But it's very wide known and widespread, the meanings of these cards and the illustrators and things like that. So now, instead of it being a card game, now it's a predictive tool. Now folks are seeing it as a way to answer questions, whether it be, are things going to change soon? Will I get this, next job opportunity? All of these other questions, they figured out that these cards can help answer a lot of these things. They have a lot of insight to the emotions and all of the workings of the brain. Believe it or not, it's quite crazy how, which you guys will see, how in tune and in touch they are with all of this. So back to this. Now they're being seen for their true meanings as a set of archetypes, a psychological mirror to help people understand their own subconscious. And it also, by the way, helps you to bring forth the things that you might have been subconsciously pushing back, whether you're in denial or whether you have had trauma and you just don't want to go there again. These are all totally normal ways that the brain has developed trauma responses or ways to save the self. And so when we lock things away, whether they be from something big and like trauma, or even the good things, we have to be able to heal from them. And in order to heal from them, they have to be at the forefront. And sometimes we just need that confirmation of, what I was thinking, that I'm not crazy, that it really is happening. So now, right now, in the here and now, we are in a reawakening, if you will. folks are waking back up. And I like to say that phrase, back up, because we're waking back up to the old ways, to the ways of holistic ways of healing the body, holistic ways of healing the emotions and the mental state and things like that. And tarot is absolutely one of those wonderful healing aspects. I like to call that therapy. So, other people that I do too. And it's also a bit cheaper to be a therapist than it is to go to school to be a whole therapist. I can tell you that. But anyways, back to this. I like to use different decks. So I like to use Oracle decks and tarot decks. And we'll go into the difference between the two, of course, here in just a moment. But what I want you guys to do is don't settle yourselves for one type of deck. You know what I mean? You might like the original deck the most. They don't have any meanings on them. You have to look at the booklet and whatnot. Or you might like another deck that's a lot like the ones in the box that has something like this, where they still have the illustrations. They give the meanings. They also give them in reverse. They also give you the elemental associations with them, the zodiac associations with them. If you were to ask a yes or no question, sometimes they'll even say that, yes, no, maybe. So all I can tell you is that do you develop this art. This is a craft. It's supposed to be comfortable for you. Of course, it's going to be comfortable for the other person as well that you're doing the reading for, but you make your practice your own. And that's the most beautiful thing you can do is come to them when they're coming to you with questions, come back at them, meet them in the space with authenticity and, comfort, because that's going to help them really open up. And it's also just going to make the reading go a lot easier anyway. So now, okay, I wish you guys could see the slides. That way you could see the pictures of them. But like I said, you'll be able to get them as soon as the class is over. I'll email them to every single person that's on here. And they'll be part of the recording too. So now we're going to get into tarot versus oracle. All right. So I get asked this question a lot, actually. What's the difference between tarot and oracle? Well, tarot is more structured. Yes, the cards have certain meanings with their imageries, but there are interpretations of the cards from different people. Of course, it also depends on your observation and your own thought process and your own discernment. But oracle cards and decks, those are much different because they basically are set up and designed to be what the artist wants you to see. A lot of times they're affirmations and positive messages. And then sometimes, of course, they're like, for instance, I have one called the Dark Witch Oracle, and it sounds scary, but it's actually not. It's very beautiful because this deck shines a light into the darker parts of healing and just helps bring forth more, healing. You know what I mean? And that's basically any oracle deck is like that. They are totally set up and designed to be what the artist wants you to see. With tarot, it's very much more structured. This card means a list of these things, and it can only be so many, you know what I mean? So let's keep going. So there are so many different kinds of tarot and oracle, and I'm going to show you guys a few different ones so that you can see just have different examples of what different decks of tarot decks and oracle decks would look like. So before we get into more info, I'll go ahead and do that with you now. So this is one of my favorite ones. It's called Oracle of the Witch. Of course, it has a lovely booklet with it. A lot of people have this one. It's amazing. So here's just an instance of a card on here. Crafter. And of course, all the oracle decks, you just look at the corresponding number and the booklet. You have to read the booklet because, like I said, it's totally designed for what the artist wants you to know. But you'll have to go through this little booklet to the corresponding card, pull it up, and then some decks will give you like a little ritual or a set of affirmations to say for yourself. Now, another really cool one I want you to see is called the Crystal Ally cards. Now, these are very big to hold in your hand. I have to actually lean back to show them on screen. But for instance, this one on front is female power. Yes. And it's got a crystal in the background, but the same thing, you would have to look in the booklet and see what that says and corresponds to what you have going on. Now, another deck I would like to show you, this is called a chakra tarot deck. So if you see all the colors, certain cards are associated with certain chakras. So like the purple one that you see, that's going to be your third eye chakra. Blue one, throat chakra, orange. You see what catch my drift, but you would, same as the original Rider-Waite deck, you would need to know what the card means in order to, be able to give that in a reading very comfortably. Me personally, I use a crystal oracle deck and a tarot deck, much like this one. So, and I use them both. But we'll get into that later because like I said, it's your practice. Do what you want, honey. Nobody's going to tell you that you're doing it wrong. At least I won't. So let me see, where am I? In order to see exactly how I do my readings, though, you'll have to snag one of my Zoom readings on Witchsea on the site. So I definitely suggest getting one of those. So then oracle decks, like I said, are a great thing to add to your divination practice. They're also really good to use as like a daily card pool because, like I said, they're affirmations, they're positive messages. It's a little bit of extra healing. And so, that's a great way to start the day. Pull a tarot and pull an oracle and just see what spirit or universe or however you want to say shows up for you. So I have actually seen real psychics use oracle cards as part of the reading, where they just pull an oracle card and then it sparks a message or it sparks something like that, and they instantly have that pulled out of their brain. I'm not exactly sure how they do that, but you can do it that way too. And so, like I said, there's no wrong way to do a reading, by the way. It's important to develop your own practice. You'll hear me say that so many times because I feel like I want everybody to really, really know that your practice is of your own. Okay. So you're going to want to be comfortable with what you're doing. And if you don't look comfortable with what you're doing, you'll look like you're not knowing what you're doing too. You know what I mean? And so you might be anxious inside, but you don't want to be like, you get what I'm saying? They might turn around and walk away if you're acting like you don't know what you're doing. So, and also an oracle deck might be less scary for someone who's never had a reading before and they're a little scared of the tarot cards because of whatever reason, a religious background, or they just don't know what they mean yet. And that's common. You get that all the time. So sometimes having that option might be a little gentler to ease somebody in. But like I said, it's totally up to the artist to decide what the cards mean and what they say and what kind of message it is. So at the very end of all of this in the slides, I did include a list of books that will help everybody. And I also included a wonderful tarot journal, which I will show you guys here in a moment. I highly recommend getting something like that. You can even just use a basic notebook. It doesn't have to be something fancy with stickers and blah, blah, blah. Something that will help you go from looking at it with your eyes to now you're using your hands to write it down, what it means, what the card is, what it looks like to you, the feelings that you get. Something about doing that just helps you to remember it better, using multiple ways to remember things. So let's see. Now we're going to get into the difference with tarot. So we talked about oracle. So with tarot, like I said, it's much more structured. Each card has a specific meaning. Yes, they do have multiple different meanings or intention, not just intentions, but things that they could possibly mean. So they are also set up with certain symbolism and idealism, etc. But for the most part, they're very structured. Although it is still left up to the interpretation of the person giving the reading on how they show up for you. It's really up to them and their process of, well, I guess, attaining information. I do also suggest, as a reader, get readings from other people. Even if you know what the cards mean or don't know what the cards mean yet, just get readings from other people because it really allows you to see other ways to interpret things that, you know what I mean? Like things that these cards could mean. So, and when you get a tarot reading, it's much more, well, because it is very structured, you end up getting a much more detailed, in-depth look of patterns and personal growth than you would with Oracle, for instance. Like if you got just a reading with Oracle deck, it would be more flexible and intuitive guidance. With a reading with tarot will be much more in depth. And like I said, you can absolutely use them together. I do. I know quite a few other readers that do as well. And then I also know readers that don't. They just use the tarot. So like I said, it's totally up to you. When I'm doing that, unless they are asking for a specific spread, then I tend to leave the Oracle decks out. A actual spread is also structured because you're getting specific questions meant just for this. So now, facts. Okay. We're going to get into facts, fiction, myths. All right. I'm going to try to hurry because we want to save the last 15 minutes for open discussion, maybe a couple card pulls too. So, facts. You remember I said tarot was not created for fortune telling. It was that parlor game in Italy for the aristocrats. Another fact, there is no bad card, only misunderstood ones. Cards like the Tower, the Devil, Death, those are not doom cards, okay? So when you flip one, don't go, oh, good. You know what I'm saying? Because you might freak the person getting the reading out a little bit because the Tower card in the Rider-Waite deck looks pretty chaotic and crazy. You know what I'm saying? These cards actually have much more deeper, more beautiful meanings than what it says right there on face value. And it does not predict a fixed future. Okay. I understand that it is a way to predict some things, but a tarot reading is not meant to go, okay, you have a very handsome man coming into your life in 3.5 days and da 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 da. You know what I'm saying? Especially if the cards not come out like that, please. So the minor arcana, little fact, this is where day-to-day life and the insight lies, day-to-day life happenings and whatnot. Your minor arcana, those are all like the suits, kings of the wands and things like that, which we'll go into later. Your major arcana, those are the first ones, 0 through 22. The major arcana signifies more significant life lessons. These are deeper, much deeper meanings. That's why I said labeled off those 3 that are not doom cards. Those all, like they all do, have interconnections and deeper, much deeper meanings than, like I said, that you see at face value. Getting a card in reverse is not always negative. Sometimes when you pull that devil card in reverse, that's actually even more positive light than what the devil card actually means too. So, but it can also mean a delay, internalized energy, blocked potential, and just the shadow side, the side that we always try to hide, or whether it be from trauma or just not wanting everybody to see that ugly part of us. So tarot does not conflict with religion, okay, unless someone wants it to. I'm only saying that like that because that's very true. There's nothing that in doing a tarot reading says is wrong in your religion and you're going to burn in the place that it says it from. That idea that tarot is evil is more modernized and cultural and not factual. It has actually coexisted beside religion for centuries. Some religions see people who do tarot readings and get readings as something as like they're getting the messages from God himself. I mean, I don't necessarily know that, so I can't say like where the things are coming from, but that's where you develop your own discernment. You know what I mean? If it's God or goddess or all of the old gods and the new, whatever it may be for you, that's for you to figure out. So tarot is a mirror, okay, and not a prophecy tool. It can reflect your mindset, patterns, blind spots, and potential. Not to be used solely as a daily tool for all decision making, okay? And now, as you I don't know, are you surprised to hear me say that as a professional tarot card reader? I would still have to say, don't consider it as something to use for every single day decision making, okay? Because when you do that, you're kind of forgetting about the main focus here, and that's you. You don't want to lose your own power in yourself and in your own decision making skills. You know what I'm saying? Because now you would be relying, or someone else would be relying only on what these cards are telling you to do. Things can change. Yeah, the cards can predict a few things, but things change. Someone else's free will Um, they don't know that you might have a karmic life cycle that's about to pop back up because you didn't learn your dang gum lesson the first time. That just might as well be, and it can be like that for someone else too. That's my point. That's why I say don't use it as an everyday predictive tool. Myths. Biggest one that I want to say, biggest myth out there, okay, is that you can't buy your own tarot deck. I'm sorry. I don't know where this started, but that's dangerous information to tell people, okay? You can buy your actually, I have so many decks. You guys have no idea how many decks I have. I would at some point love to show you a picture of my shelf. You'd be like, what? I have so many decks I bought myself, but there's also decks that people have gifted to me. Now, if you want to go by that myth and believe that you can't have your own and blah, 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 by all means, honey, you do you, boo boo. I'm not going to tell you that you are wrong and now you can't read tarot and you're not going to get intuition messages because you had it gifted. Oh, that's silly. So, a lot of it started on Witch Talk, which is a great place to go for people to gather information, but it's also dangerous because misinformation is out there and it's out there everywhere for every topic. It doesn't matter what it's about. So please use your filtering systems, folks, and your discernment. If it sounds weird, do a Google search. That has a great way now to bring you up a whole bunch of links and a bunch of other ways to figure this out. So let me tell you another big false. You have to be an actual psychic to read tarot. No, you don't. Everybody is super intuitive, okay? It's just a matter of how tapped in you are, but you don't have to be out here going, I can predict the lottery numbers and things like that and see people's deaths before it happened to actually be a reader. Not everybody's that psychic or intuitive, you know what I'm saying? Another one, death card does not mean somebody's going to die. So please don't tell somebody some false information. That's very dangerous. The same thing as learning misinformation and wrong things. If you are telling them, you know, these crazy things like the death card means that they're going to die, or the devil card means that the devil's on their back and they're doing devilish ways and things like that, you're going to fill their head with false pretenses and information, and that's going to affect how they move in their life. They're coming to you for guidance. They're coming to you for insight. And so that's our job, to do that and not fill their heads with, fake stuff. You know what I mean? So another myth is that you can't read for yourself. I personally don't like to do a lot of in-depth readings for myself, but that's because I'm a bit biased and I'll go, yeah, right, girl, you don't need to hear that card. That doesn't apply. And even though deep down we all know, yes, it does, that comes with having other people do the readings for you. That way you can also see what they mean, see how they interpreted it, like I said. So another one. Okay. Well, actually, that was pretty much all of the biggest ones. In storage, like you have to store it in this or you have to store it in that, and that's silly too. You store it how you want. There are some decks that are in the boxes they came in, and then there are some decks that are in a velvety bag. This actually has 2 decks and a pendulum in it. So, if some people tell you that you can't have 2 decks in one bag, that's also a bit of a false statement. Do what you want, baby. Like I said, do what you want. So now we're going to talk really fast about connecting with your deck. Great ways. You're sitting in front of the tube watching TV or whatever, Real Housewives or the Super Bowl. I don't know what's going on. Go sports balls. Just look at the card. Sit there and look at it. Feel the feelings you feel from it and pay attention to the immediate thoughts that you get. Those are going to be your first little tidbits of clues of information for what that card might mean. Other ways to connect with it, just hold it in your hand while you meditate. You can set it next to you. Like if you are a busy person working on a computer, that's a great way to connect with it. Sit it beside your computer with a crystal or something on it and just have it by you, looking at it, glancing over at it. Basically, what this is going to do, you looking at the cards over and over again, sitting with them, having them in your hands, that's going to create muscle memory. And that's also going to make you remember initially, what was that first thought and feeling that I got? That's like your little message, right? It's your psychic message. Listen to your intuition, okay? Other ways to connect with your deck, you cleansing them while you're cleansing your deck, that also helps. Let me show you guys one of my favorite tools. A bell. I love to use a bell to cleanse my deck with. I also use sage, Florida water, setting crystals on top of there. There are so many different ways to cleanse it. Now, if you are using a spray, let me go ahead and just tell you from firsthand experience, spray far away from your deck. Don't saturate it with the spray, okay? Because if you do, it can break down and you have weird little water spots, and that just looks funny in your reading. Other great ways, little sound bowl. Vibrations go into everything and they force energy outward, going into your body. That's the point of like getting sound baths. Like I said, another thing that you can use is a wonderful sage. This one has orange and cinnamon and bay leaf. So cinnamon is for abundance. Bay leaves are also for abundance. The orange slice is actually used to help bring the light in. So if you add herbs to your sages, things like that, your little herb bundles to burn, they use certain ones to help raise your intuition, like mugwort, and other herbs that help. So right before we get finished here, a few crystals that would be great to use to help charge your deck, help charge you up and get your third eye chakra and your crown chakra open. So selenite, that is a great crystal to recharge things. Set it on top of your deck or set your deck on top of it. Clear quartz, that's the amplifier. That will help you amplify your powers, so to speak, and help, amplify your feelings and your intuition, things like that. Amethyst, that's your stone of intuition. All right. And another one, a great one to use as a protection, black tourmaline, black obsidian. Having it sit like right beside you. This is my big chunkers. I like to set this on top of a deck before or after I'm done with readings, actually. But, develop your things as you're doing you for you. Then in the pictures for the slides, I made sure I put pictures of things so you could see what they look like. If you take anything away from you guys today, have it be a few don'ts. Don't listen to the naysayers and the gatekeepers. Don't limit yourself to learning tarot one way through one book or one avenue. Don't, you know what I'm saying? Just keep doing readings. The best way for you to develop your skill is to just keep reading for people for free. Read for your friends, read for your family. Have it be like a donation base. And then later on in the other classes, we're going to deep dive into the major arcana, the minor arcana, the symbology, the astrology, the zodiac associations, how to improve your intuition. And also with each of the next classes, they're going to be giving away a ticket for the next one, for a free ticket for the next class. We'll be giving away many different things. One of the classes, I'm going to give away a jackpot, basically, which is going to be a tarot box, a journal with stickers, and all kinds of really cool things. So it's super, super exciting. And I hope you guys were able to get enough information today and really get to learn the basic part, because this is really the part that is the basis. So, yeah.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for that. Want to move into some questions first, and then we can do the giveaway. I have all the winners picked. So you want to do questions first, or do you want me just to take the pain out of them waiting to find out who the winners are?
Well, let's go ahead and tell the winners real fast, and then we'll do the rest of the time for questions.
All right. So the free seat to the next event, Denise Bachman. So if you're here, just say something in the chat. The 15-minute Zoom reading with Tam is Liz Black. The first deck and tarot oil giveaway is Nicole Johnson. And then the second deck is Lindsay A. I don't have your last name listed in my list, but just make sure you say I'm here, or yay or whatever in the chat, and I'll make sure that those gifts get out to you guys. So I'll reach out to you by email too, so I can, especially if I'm sending you a physical item, you can send me your information. All right, so let's get into some questions here because we have quite a few. All right.
Yay.
So what are your non-negotiable ethical rules?
Oh, big ones for me. So if someone comes in and they want to know, hey, am I pregnant right now? I really try to steer away from answering things like that too much, only because they're gonna think what you're saying is 100% Bible and truth. We don't know that something might change, you know what I mean? So I would really kind of steer away from health and death kind of questions, only because you're not a doctor.
Absolutely. All right, here comes the next one. Any recommendations for a book to help with reading the cards in the journal? And I think you did say something that you were going to send a list out, right?
Yes, absolutely. So when at the very end of the slides, and if you don't want the slides, that's fine. I can totally put it in your a little email for you. But I have the best books that I've found out there, and I also included the best tarot journal. You'll be able to get these journals soon on my shop too, but I highly, highly suggest using this journal because it will really help you, and it's very structured too. It starts out with having you just pull one card. It'll have you even write the moon phase and the date, what you feel about the card. It's just a very, very in-depth way to really connect and learn the cards.
All right. How can I tell the difference between my own anxiety and hope and a genuine intuitive hit?
That
Right.
is a great question. So, as somebody who also has a lot of anxiety, I'm an intuitive empath, so I'm feeling everybody's energies and things like that. Actually, anxiety is one of your superpowers because when your alarm bells are going off, you're feeling body changes. You're literally feeling things. And so you just have to use your filtering system in your head and go, okay, is this my anxiety or is this their anxiety? Because if you're doing a reading for somebody, you can just, once they sit with you, their feelings will be very palpable. You'll be able to tell, okay, this is not, I'm feeling their stuff. This isn't mine. So, and actually use that practice when you're out at the store. That's a good time to practice your intuition. Be like, oh, wait, am I feeling anxious right now, or someone around me is? Look around and really read their body language. Look at how they're if they're tense up or moving their fingers a lot, they're probably, you're feeling their anxiety. So
All right. How do you distinguish between similar cards, the sun, the world, or the tower versus death?
well, so actually, even though each one of these cards means certain things, they're also connected in different ways. So with the sun card versus the world, or the tower versus death, they only because when you really begin to learn what the cards mean, as soon as you see that picture, that muscle memory is going to pop back up to you. And that's another reason why I suggest using a deck like this, because not only does it give you meanings on the bottom, but also in reverse, it sparks your brain. You know what I mean? As somebody who also has dyslexia and ADD, I need reminders sometimes, you know what I mean, for what this card is saying. So,
Right. How do the suits relate to the elements?
ooh, that's also another great question. So the suits, each suit, so if, for instance, the wands, those represent fire. So all your fire signs, all the zodiac signs that are fire, Leo, Aries, Sagittarius, all those cards will represent that. So then the water signs, those cups are water, emotions. And when you look at the cards, they look emotional. They look like they have fluid in them. And those also help you to correlate the element with the suit. And that's another thing that we're going to definitely dive into when we're learning the minor arcana in class 3.
Love it. How do you clear your energy and the deck in between your readings?
Oh, yes. So one way, especially if I've got a lot of readings to do and it's really, really busy, I like to keep like a little Palo Santo stick next to me, especially if I'm outside somewhere and then I don't have to worry about smoke. And because I chose Palo Santo, the reason for that is because it goes out really fast. You don't have something sitting there burning while you're doing all your things. Just smudge your deck real fast. I also keep a spray bottle of Florida water. A little one like this is perfect for a tarot bag or to have on your table side, and you can just spray your area, spray your auric field, spray above your table, and it will help to clear that energy out of the way, because you want to do that because energy is stagnant and sometimes people come in with a whole lot of energy.
Yeah, definitely. And if you go to Witchsea Marketplace and you search Florida water, we have some incredible witches that make some fantastic products there too. So you can always get that, or you can always make your own.
Yes, highly recommend.
All right. What were the biggest pitfalls or blinds you encountered when you first started reading for others?
Well, mostly because when I first started reading, I didn't know all the extra things that connected with it. And also, I wasn't prepared for the fact that someone can come and sit down to get a reading with you and block and be blocked. They don't want you to know the deep things. Why did they sit down with you? I don't know. I can't answer that for you too, but you will encounter that. And what you just have to do, you just have to keep going. You just got to keep going. It's not up to you for them to open up. You just provide the safe space and continue to read cards until it's over. And I can tell you one thing, I've only had that happen one time out of all the time that I've done readings. I've only had one person block and not open up to me. But like I said, that wasn't my journey. That was for him to kind of go home and figure out, you know what I mean? So
Let's see. How do you blend the meanings of two cards together? What is the first thing you look for when you lay out a spread before you even start reading?
Well, that is a very good question because some people, when they're reading, if you are reading on an actual spread, some people just do one card at a time because there's a lot of spreads are questions, you know what I mean? So we don't want to get confused with what that question, that card meant for the question. Now, the way that you want to blend them together, um, that's where your extra intuition comes from. So if you have a card together that they look totally different, you know what I mean? You've got the Fool, and then you've also got a minor arcana, the King of Pentacles. They are two very opposite cards, but the way you can relate them to the person is by saying something like, you know, well, the King of Pentacles, they like to bring in ways of helping to make money. So the Fool also represents new beginnings. And maybe we've got something going on here, a new beginning with work or something with new finances. Do you see what I'm saying? So you can blend them together. Now you will do readings where the cards aren't meant to be blent together. It's this card is having this feeling and meaning, and then you're on to the next one. So
All right. And then Sue was asking the chakra deck that you showed, what the name was that?
yeah.
Name was the chakra.
Okay. You can tell this box is it's won't even like stay closed anymore. So the artist name is Tori Hartman. I'll try to put that close to the screen there. Tori Hartman, Hartman. This is a very beautiful deck. I like to use this as an additive because sometimes folks don't realize that their chakras are blocked, and these help to identify blockages within you that also are associated with the tarot. So very pretty.
I like that. And then someone asked, do oracles typically mean gentle and tarot is more in depth?
Yes, that is a very good way to put that. Yes, I would definitely say oracles are much more gentler. Now I have a oracle deck actually from the 1970s that I still use all the time. But I like to set things out and let people choose let them choose what they want, whether it be something light and bright. Like, let me show you, for instance. Language of Flowers. This is the Oracle deck. This is something very light and bright, you know, paintings, hand painted flowers. But then you've also got something darker, you know, uh, for us witches, you know, the Oracle of the Witch. It really just depends on the artist. And with tarot, of course, you can have darker looking decks and lighter looking decks. It really just depends on what you want, what kind of message you're trying to send to.
Right. Do you cleanse the deck before and after each reading? Do you have the client touch the deck before you start their reading?
So I usually do after. Now, if I've got too many readings going on, I don't have time, I usually wait until the end. And then I'm definitely saging myself, and I'm probably going to have an energetic hangover the next day. Um, just because it's a lot of readings is, it drains your battery. So it really just depends on your own discernment. I would go with what you feel is good for you. If you need to cleanse before and after, by all means, you do that. You can peel off pieces of your sage, so you're not burning a whole sage stick if that's what you're using, and just burn that little piece. It just really depends on what you feel like you would like to do. You know what I mean?
And what about the client? Do you have them touch that deck before they start reading?
Right. Yes, that was another good question. Me personally, now, if I've got my table set up and I don't want just strangers coming up picking up my decks, but if we're sitting down doing a reading, I will spread two different decks, an oracle and a tarot, in front of them face down, and I will have them choose a card themselves. It puts their own energy into the deck. So you just have to be mindful of that energy exchange. If you don't want that energy, then by all means, don't let them touch your deck or shuffle the deck. So yeah,
Well,
it really just depends on personal preference.
yeah, and I'll just piggyback on that because you do a lot of Zoom reading. So how does that work with the energy piece of the client?
That is, of course, there since they're not touching your deck per se. I'm using my extra filtering systems, and I am going by intuition. So instead of having them, like, I would have them choose a card that's laying down, then if it's over Zoom, I will shuffle and tell them to tell me when to stop. Or if it's a card that comes flying out while we're shuffling, then typically then that's like the one that's like ding 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 ding. Okay, we got to talk about this at hand. You know what I mean?
I love
So.
that. All right, we
Mm.
got two more. So let's see. Does the cleansing bell have to be iron?
No, it does not have to be iron. It can be whatever great sound, and it also doesn't have to be a certain tune either. I liked the way this sounded myself, but whatever sound, basically, that sounds good to you. You can use clapping, singing. You can use, like I said, a bell, chimes, jingle your keys if you want. Basically, creating sound pushes the vibrations into the things invisibly that we can't see and pushes out that bad energy, making room for clean, good energy.
It's awesome. All right, last one. I haven't touched my deck in a long time. What would you do to start? Cleanse, charge, sleep on them?
Me personally, I wouldn't be able to sleep on them because I'm like Princess in the Pea. I'm like, what is under my mattress or my pillow? But I definitely do recommend giving it a nice little charge or a cleanse, just because if it's been sitting there stagnant and just sitting that, you want to reignite them. Sometimes in between readings, when if I can't do a cleanse, I'll go like this. I'll knock on my deck. It's not like asking if someone's home. It's just clear it out of there. You know what I mean? You can hit it on the table too. But yeah, I definitely recommend a nice cleanse and a charge. Sit like a selenite or clear quartz on top of it, and it'll help to charge its energy back.
Awesome. Actually, there's one more in the chat I'm just going to throw at you. Stacy asks, how often can we get readings for ourselves?
Oh, yeah, that is a great question because that's something I forgot to put in the information. I typically like to tell folks about 30 days in between. And that's just because not much has changed in 30 days unless things have changed, of course. If there's been like something new happen that you need clarification on, then that's a good idea to get a little short reading. But I typically tell folks that are regulars of mine about every 30 days.
Awesome. Awesome. So we are at the time. So I want to again thank you all so much for coming today. In the events section, you'll see part 2, part 3, and part 4. So if you want to dig a little deeper with Tam and learning tarot, I think there's some really great classes coming up. We're going to send you an email after, or Tam will do that. I'll give her a list of your email addresses. She'll send you the slide deck and her recommendation. I put a link in there, and I'll put it in here just one more time. If you would like to get a reading with Tam, she offers 15-minute Zoom readings. You can get those at Witchsea. So I hope you take advantage of that. It's a great experience. And then any of you who won the giveaways today, I will email you to get your information. Whoever won the free seat, I'm going to put a ticket in, and I'll give you a code so you can get that free ticket. And then Tam will reach out to the person that received the free Zoom reading. So again, thank you all so much for coming today. I appreciate you all. I appreciate your support of Tam. Appreciate your support of our events and of Witchsea Marketplace. It means the world to us. And check out the other events. It's going to be a good time. Lots of great information. So I hope you all have a good day. And I'm going to say this and probably make a lot of people mad, but I'm going to say go Pats today. So have a great afternoon, and we will see you all soon.
Bye. Thank you.
Replay will be up on Witchsea Academy either this afternoon or tomorrow.
Yes.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.